Okay, so the four forms are modus ponens, converse error, and inverse error. Okay, so I'll show you one of them. Okay, this is the first argument form. Okay, premise 1, premise 2, conclusion. So someone says if P happens, Q will happen. P happened, therefore this person concluded that Q will happen. Okay, so is this argument valid or invalid? Okay, this is perhaps one of the easiest to understand, because we know that P will lead to Q, and we know that P has happened, so we concluded that Q will happen. Okay, this is actually a valid argument. Okay, what argument form? This is modus ponens. Okay, do you have to memorize this? Strictly speaking, I don't think so. Okay, what you need to do is to ask yourself, okay, there must be an assumption made somewhere. Okay, so this person actually made an assumption. Okay, do not write this out during the test. It's more for explanation here. Okay, the person actually made an assumption, and the assumption is that premise 2 will lead to what the person concludes. So this person actually assumed that P implies Q. Okay, and you ask yourself, okay, is this assumption logically equivalent to our premise number 1? Okay, in this case, not only are they logically equivalent, they are in fact the same. Okay, so when they are logically equivalent, okay, premise 1 and the assumption, if they are logically equivalent, then we can know for sure that the argument is valid. Okay, so since we have actually made use of premise 1, is actually modus ponens, so this is the thing that you need to remember. Okay, let's look at another case. P implies Q. Q didn't happen, so the person concluded that P didn't happen. Okay, same thing, there was an assumption made. The assumption is always premise 2 leads to the conclusion, so this person assumed not Q implies not P. Okay, ask yourself, these two, are they logically equivalent? Okay, this is my premise 1 and this is assumption. Are they logically equivalent? This actually brings us back to our previous discussion on the contrapositive, converse, and inverse. Okay, what you need to know is that original statement, okay, and the contrapositive actually forms a pair. They are logically equivalent. Okay, the converse and the inverse forms a pair. They are logically equivalent. Okay, across these two pairs, they are not logically equivalent. What this means is that the original statement, contrapositive, logically equivalent. Original statement and the inverse, no, they are not logically equivalent. The original statement and the converse, no, not logically equivalent. Contrapositive and inverse, not logically equivalent. Contrapositive and converse, not logically equivalent. Okay, so only the original statement and the contrapositive are logically equivalent. Across these two pairs, they are not logically equivalent. Okay, so back to here. This is the contrapositive. This is the original statement. They are logically equivalent, so this is actually a valid argument. Okay, what form? This is modus ponens. Alright, so we are halfway there already. Let's continue. Okay, next argument form actually looks like this. P implies Q. P didn't happen, so we concluded that Q will not happen. Okay, seems logical, but okay, let's find out what did this person assume. Okay, this person assumed it's always premise 2 leads to conclusion, so the assumption is not P implies not Q. Right? Okay, compare this versus this. Are they logically equivalent? No. Okay, in this case they are not logically equivalent, so this is an invalid argument. Okay, what is this in relation to the original premise 1? This is actually the inverse. Correct? So it will be the inverse error. Okay, the person assumed that the inverse is also true given the original premise 1. Okay, so they are not logically equivalent. That's why there's some flaw in this argument. Okay, it's an invalid argument, and there was an inverse error. Okay, finally, okay, the last argument form with P implies Q. Q happened, therefore person conclude that P will happen. Okay, what did the person assume? Assume Q implies P. Q implies P. Okay, not logically equivalent, so it's an invalid argument. This is the converse, so this is converse error. Okay, so these are the four argument forms. Okay, the argument will definitely be if you are asked to use rules of inference, then you can be sure that the argument will always fall into one of these four forms. Okay, you can take a look at our sample term test paper to get a better feel of how questions will be phrased, okay, for such questions.